Eleanor sat on her old wooden porch, the fading sunlight brushing her silver hair as she watched the empty driveway with a growing sense of unease, her knitting abandoned on her lap, the soft rhythm of the needles replaced by the quiet ticking of the wall clock inside, every sound magnified in the still evening. Normally, her grandson Alex would have been home by now, his bright laughter echoing through the house as he came in from his evening walks or outings with friends, and the thought of him being late filled her with a mix of worry and curiosity, her mind racing through possibilities, imagining him caught in traffic, helping someone in need, or perhaps lost in thought somewhere he didn't want to leave. The shadows stretching longer as she strained her eyes toward the street, her heart skipping every time a car passed by, yet none were his, and as the sky deepened from soft orange to dusky purple, a chill ran through her despite the warm spring air, the kind of chill that comes not from weather but from the anticipation of the unknown, the unspoken tension that wrapped around her chest like a quiet warning. She remembered how Alex had always been careful, responsible, the kind of young man who thought before he acted, who never made her wait, who never let worry take root in her heart, and yet tonight, that careful, reliable presence seemed distant, almost unreachable, and she wondered if this was a moment of change, a night that would mark something important in his life and perhaps hers, the way certain evenings hold secrets in their silence, as if the world itself paused to listen to the unfolding story. Her thoughts wandered back to his childhood, the way he had burst into the house after school with scraped knees and stories of playground adventures, the way he had leaned against her, trusting and unafraid, and the comforting normalcy of those days made the current uncertainty sharper, almost painful, because she knew that the boy who had once run to her with open arms had grown into a young man with his own life, choices, and heart, a heart that she was only beginning to glimpse in its depth and complexity, and as she shifted on the porch swing, the creaking of the chains echoing in the quiet street, she realized that tonight might be one of those rare, fleeting nights when everything changes, when confessions are made, when truths that have been hidden come to light, and she felt a mixture of dread and anticipation, the kind of emotional cocktail that left her both tense and oddly exhilarated, her breath catching every time she imagined what Alex might say, who he might have met, what dreams or troubles he might carry. Then, from the distance, a familiar sound reached her ears, the crunch of tires on gravel, soft at first and then more definite, and her heart leapt, a sudden jolt that left her hands trembling slightly, the feeling of relief tempered by curiosity and a quiet nervousness, and as she watched, a figure emerged through the shadows, tall and lean, moving with a certain hesitation that she didn't recognize, and though it was Alex, there was something in the slump of his shoulders, the tilt of his head, the way he didn't rush or run toward the porch, that spoke of burdens, of thoughts weighed down by something unspoken, and Eleanor's chest tightened, the worry coiling itself around her like a vine, yet beneath it, a surge of love and protective instinct reminded her that whatever had happened, whatever he had to tell her, she would listen, she would support, she would be his safe place, the steady ground beneath his restless feet, and when he finally stopped in front of her, brushing a hand nervously against his hair, his eyes searching hers with a mix of hesitation and resolve, and said, almost in a whisper, "Grandma, can we talk?" Eleanor felt time slow, the porch lights flickering as if signaling the gravity of the moment, the air thick with anticipation, the entire evening compressed into that single, quiet question, a question that carried the weight of untold stories, hidden feelings, and the kind of truth that changes relationships, hearts, and lives, and she nodded slowly, swallowing her worry into a smile that she hoped conveyed both warmth and reassurance, the gentle promise that whatever he revealed, he would not face it alone. And as they settled on the porch swing, the cool evening breeze carrying the faint scent of blooming flowers, Eleanor felt a shiver of recognition, and knowing that tonight would be remembered, that this late return, this unusual pause in their daily routine, was the opening of a chapter she had not yet read, a story full of emotion, longing, and the tender complexity of a young man's heart beginning to reach out, not just to love, but to honesty, and in that moment, watching the way the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, Eleanor realized that sometimes waiting, sometimes worry, sometimes quiet observation of those we love, leads to moments that are more precious, more transformative than we ever anticipate. Moments when the ordinary porch, the familiar swing, and the quiet evening can become a stage for the extraordinary unfolding of connection, emotion, and heartfelt revelation. And as Alex took a hesitant breath, ready to speak the words that had been held back for too long. Eleanor's heart both ached and soared, knowing that whatever came next, this night would be etched in memory, a gentle, emotional beginning to a story of love, truth, and the quiet courage it takes to return home and open one's heart. The night had settled fully over Maplewood, the sky a deep canvas of indigo speckled with stars, and Eleanor and Alex sat on the porch swing, the wooden boards creaking softly under their weight, the gentle hum of the night around them providing a quiet stage for a conversation that felt both ordinary and monumental. Alex's hands twisting nervously in his lap as he avoided Eleanor's steady gaze. The kind of gaze that could see everything without judgment, that could make a person feel safe even while revealing the most delicate truths. And finally, after a long pause filled with the soft rustle of leaves and the distant sound of an owl calling, Alex spoke, his voice low and slightly trembling, "Grandma, I've been seeing someone," and Eleanor's heart leapt, a mix of curiosity and gentle surprise washing over her, for she had expected a dozen other explanations for his lateness, but this admission carried a weight of honesty and vulnerability that made the night feel suddenly charged, alive, as if the stars themselves were leaning closer to listen, and she reached out instinctively, placing her hand over his, the warmth of her touch grounding him, a silent encouragement to continue, to trust her with the story that he had clearly been carrying for a long time, and he took a shaky breath before continuing, "Her name is Lily. We met at the downtown art gallery last month. She's unlike anyone I've ever met, and I think I love her," and Eleanor felt a complex swirl of emotions inside her, relief that he was being open, curiosity about this new chapter in his life, and a quiet thrill at seeing him discover feelings so deep and sincere, the kind of love that makes hearts race and nights stretch longer. Yet she noticed the tension in his shoulders, the way his eyes flicked toward the street as if expecting judgment or disappointment, and she smiled softly, a reassuring curve of her lips, and whispered, "Alex, you know you can tell me anything. I'm always here," and he nodded, a small gesture that seemed to release a fraction of the weight he had been carrying, the night air wrapping around them, cool yet comforting, and he began to share the story of how he and Lily met, how her laughter had drawn him in, how her gentle but fiery spirit had made him feel alive in ways he hadn't expected, how late-night conversations had stretched into early mornings, filled with dreams, hopes, and the kind of quiet intimacy that comes from truly seeing another person. And Eleanor listened, absorbing every word, feeling the warmth of young love yet tempered with the wisdom of someone who had witnessed many hearts navigate the twists of emotion, and as Alex spoke, he revealed the hesitations that had kept him from telling her sooner, the uncertainty about how she would react, the fear that he might be judged for falling so deeply, and Eleanor squeezed his hand gently, reminding him that love is always worth the risk, that honesty with oneself and those we care about is more important than fear. And as he continued, his words tumbling out in a mixture of relief and longing, he confessed the moments that had left him breathless, the stolen glances, the soft touches that lingered in memory, the thrill of realizing that someone else could make his heart feel both fragile and strong at the same time, and Eleanor could see the emotion in his eyes, the raw truth that only comes when a person shares the depths of their heart with someone they trust, and she felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, not from sadness but from the beauty of the moment, from the tenderness of seeing her grandson stand on the threshold of love, of becoming vulnerable yet brave, and she remembered her own youth. The nights when love had seemed like an impossible dream yet had changed everything when it finally arrived, and she wished she could share all that wisdom in a single word, a single gesture, and yet she knew the best she could do was to simply be present, to let him feel that he was safe, cherished, and understood. And the porch seemed to hold its breath, the world narrowing to just the two of them, the swing creaking under their shared weight of anticipation and revelation, the night wrapping around them like a cocoon, soft and protective, as Alex's voice grew steadier, more certain, as he spoke of the hopes he held for a future with Lily, the dreams of shared adventures, laughter, and quiet moments that might one day become memories, the kind of dreams that only love can inspire. And Eleanor's heart swelled with pride, seeing not just the young man who had grown under her care but the depth of feeling, the capacity for tenderness, the courage to admit the truth even when it terrified him, and she knew that this night, this confession, would become a cornerstone memory, the first of many steps into the life he was beginning to imagine, a life where love was no longer a distant concept but a living, breathing part of his world, and as the stars twinkled above, casting silver light over the porch, Eleanor felt a quiet satisfaction, a sense that the universe had paused for this intimate exchange, this unveiling of hearts, and she watched as Alex's eyes reflected the stars, the light of hope, possibility, and the magic of first love. And then, just when the night seemed to settle into a calm rhythm, Alex took another deep breath, hesitated, and said softly, "I didn't know how to balance everything, school, work, family, and her. I was afraid I'd mess up, that I'd hurt someone," and Eleanor's heart softened even further, because she recognized that fear, that careful weighing of emotions, that desire to protect both himself and those he loved, and she whispered gently, "Alex, love doesn't need to be perfect. It only needs to be honest. You're allowed to feel uncertain, but don't let that stop you from embracing what is real," and his eyes met hers, a mixture of relief, gratitude, and lingering hesitation, the kind of look that holds entire conversations in its depth, and the porch seemed to glow with a gentle warmth, the night embracing them as confidants, as family, as witness and participant in a young heart's revelation. And as he spoke of Lily's kindness, the way she understood his fears without judgment, the way she challenged him to grow, the way her presence made the world feel fuller, brighter, and more meaningful, Eleanor felt her own heart expand, feeling joy and hope as if love itself were flowing from one generation to another, a quiet legacy of openness, trust, and emotional courage. And she realized that tonight was not just about a confession of love, but about the bond between them, the trust that had been built over years, the safety of a home where hearts could be exposed without fear. And as Alex's voice softened, almost a whisper, describing the late-night walks, the stolen conversations in quiet corners, the moments of laughter and nervous glances, Eleanor's eyes glistened, her own memories of love and longing weaving into the narrative, creating a tapestry of shared understanding, tenderness, and empathy. And just as the night deepened, wrapping them in its infinite calm, Alex's words trailed into a reflective pause, a breath held between them, and Eleanor, sensing the weight of unspoken thoughts, leaned slightly forward, her hand still on his, ready to catch every next confession, to absorb every truth, to provide comfort and guidance without judgment, knowing that this night, this conversation, would mark the beginning of a journey that was as emotional as it was romantic, as uncertain as it was beautiful. And as the first stars faded into the deeper darkness of the night, a soft wind carrying the scent of blooming flowers, Eleanor felt a gentle certainty that love, in its purest form, had arrived in Alex's life, and that the trust he had placed in her to share it would forever be a cherished moment between them, a memory of honesty, tenderness, and the emotional awakening that comes with allowing oneself to truly feel. And the porch, the swing, and the quiet night became the witness to a young heart opening to love, and to an older heart opening to understanding. And the night stretched on, infinite in its possibility, holding them both in a cocoon of emotion, hope, and quiet anticipation for what the coming days would bring. The night deepened around Eleanor and Alex, the stars casting a soft silver glow over the quiet streets of Maplewood, while the porch swing creaked gently beneath them, a slow, rhythmic sound that matched the beating of their hearts. As Alex continued to pour out his thoughts and emotions, the tension of earlier uncertainty giving way to a fragile sense of relief as he let his words flow freely, telling Eleanor about the stolen moments he shared with Lily, the way her laugh lingered in his memory like music, the way her eyes seemed to understand him in ways no one else could, and the small gestures she made that had touched him deeply, gestures that revealed her kindness, patience, and quiet strength, the details of their encounters painting vivid pictures in Eleanor's mind, making her feel as if she had been present in those moments, witnessing the tenderness and growing connection firsthand. And yet, beneath the joy and excitement of these stories, there was also hesitation, a vulnerability that Alex could not hide, the fear of missteps, of saying or doing the wrong thing, of letting this delicate bond break under the weight of his own inexperience. And Eleanor recognized that all too well, the trepidation of first love, the uncertain steps that are both thrilling and terrifying. And she reached over to squeeze his hand gently, offering reassurance without words, the simple touch carrying more meaning than any sentence could, a silent message that she understood, that she supported him, and that she would be there no matter what happened. And Alex, feeling the warmth of her hand, took a deep breath and allowed himself to be even more honest, sharing the quiet moments that had lingered in his thoughts, the way he found himself thinking of Lily at unexpected times, how memories of her smile and voice would surface in mundane moments and turn them into something magical, how the anticipation of seeing her again created a thrill in his chest that he had never experienced before, and Eleanor listened, her heart swelling with pride and tenderness, marveling at the way love could awaken such powerful emotions. Emotions that could be both exhilarating and frightening at the same time, and as he spoke of the small arguments they had, the misunderstandings that had caused him worry, and the lessons he had learned about patience, compromise, and the importance of communication, she saw in his eyes the growth that love brings, the emotional maturity that comes not from age alone but from openness, reflection, and the courage to face one's own imperfections, and she felt a quiet joy knowing that he was experiencing love in a way that was deep, respectful, and heartfelt, a love that had the potential to shape him into the man he was meant to become, while also nurturing the bond he shared with her, the grandmother who had been his guide, confidant, and safe harbor throughout his life. And the night seemed to stretch on, timeless, as if the stars themselves had paused to witness this intimate exchange of feelings, the swing rocking gently in response to the soft breeze, carrying with it the whispers of countless unspoken emotions, and Alex, feeling the weight of both his excitement and his fear, admitted that sometimes he questioned whether he was ready for the depth of emotion he felt, whether he could navigate the challenges of a relationship while maintaining the responsibilities he carried, whether he could be the person Lily needed him to be while remaining true to himself, and Eleanor, understanding the universal nature of such doubts, spoke gently, reminding him that uncertainty is natural, that love is not about perfection but about sincerity, honesty, and the willingness to grow together. And she shared small stories from her own life, tales of risk, heartbreak, and the exhilaration of opening oneself fully to another, stories that painted a picture of love as both fragile and powerful, capable of inspiring courage and vulnerability in equal measure, and Alex listened, absorbing her words like a lifeline, feeling his own fears and doubts begin to soften, replaced by a quiet determination to act from the heart, to embrace the love he felt for Lily without hesitation, and as he spoke again, he revealed the moments that had made him question himself, the subtle glances that lingered too long, the thoughts that kept him awake at night, the longing that filled his chest in her absence, all of which Eleanor recognized as the hallmarks of a young heart learning the depth of true affection, and she felt her own heart stir with empathy, recalling the nights of her youth when love had been both a mystery and a revelation, the kind of experience that shapes a person's understanding of connection, intimacy, and emotional honesty, and the porch seemed to hold its breath, the swing swaying ever so slightly, as if in tune with the rhythm of their shared feelings, and Alex, encouraged by her calm, supportive presence, began to speak of the hopes he held for the future, the dreams of shared adventures with Lily, the quiet mornings spent in conversation, the walks under the starlit sky, and the way he imagined building something meaningful with her, a life enriched by laughter, trust, and understanding, and Eleanor, listening with a mixture of pride and nostalgia, realized that these words were more than a confession of love, they were a declaration of growth, courage, and the willingness to embrace life fully, to take risks for the sake of connection and happiness, and she could see the transformation in him, the way his posture became more confident, his voice steadier, his eyes brighter, reflecting the internal shift from hesitation to hope, the subtle but profound change that occurs when a young heart allows itself to be vulnerable yet brave, and as the night deepened, carrying the soft scent of blooming flowers and the distant hum of the quiet town, Alex spoke of the little things that mattered to him, the gestures, the words, the moments that, while seemingly small, had left a lasting impact on his heart, and Eleanor marveled at how such attention to detail, such sensitivity to emotion, could be the foundation of a love that was enduring and true, and she encouraged him, softly, to honor those feelings, to cherish Lily's presence, and to continue nurturing the bond they shared with patience, respect, and honesty, for these were the qualities that make love flourish even amidst life's uncertainties, and as Alex nodded, absorbing her wisdom, he felt a surge of gratitude and relief, knowing that he had been heard, understood, and supported, that the woman who had guided him through life's many challenges was now helping him navigate the delicate landscape of the heart, and Eleanor, sensing the profound significance of this moment, held on to it in her mind, recognizing that these late-night confessions, the quiet porch, the swing, the stars, and the vulnerable words spoken between them, would be a memory they would both carry forever, a marker of emotional intimacy and the beauty of witnessing a young person's journey into love. And as Alex fell silent for a moment, the stillness between words full of anticipation and unspoken feelings, Eleanor felt a quiet certainty that this love, tender yet strong, would shape not only his present but the person he was becoming, the choices he would make, and the happiness he was beginning to embrace. And she realized that the night, in all its quiet majesty, had given them both a gift, the chance to connect, to share, and to witness the birth of something extraordinary in the ordinary world. And as the stars twinkled above, reflecting in Alex's eyes like tiny points of hope and possibility, Eleanor knew that this moment, this night of heart-to-heart confessions, would mark the beginning of a new chapter, filled with courage, tenderness, and the quiet, powerful beauty of love discovered, felt, and expressed without fear. And the swing creaked softly once more, carrying with it the lingering warmth, the shared vulnerability, and the gentle promise that the heart, when open, can find both courage and joy, even in the uncertain hours of a late night. And that as Alex sat there, revealing his deepest feelings, Eleanor felt a sense of completion, a connection forged in honesty, love, and trust, a memory that would live on in both of them. And she knew that tomorrow, and the days after, would carry the echoes of this night, the lessons of vulnerability, and the power of opening one's heart fully, because sometimes, the most ordinary evenings become the most extraordinary when hearts speak freely, when emotions are allowed to flow, and when love, in all its tender and dramatic glory, begins to take root. The clock had edged past midnight, and the quiet streets of Maplewood were bathed in the silver glow of the moon, casting long, gentle shadows across the porch where Eleanor and Alex still sat, the air carrying a delicate scent of spring blooms and the soft rustle of leaves in the evening breeze, while Alex took a deep, steadying breath, the weight of his emotions pressing on him, a mixture of excitement, nervousness, and a fragile hope that tonight, at last, he would take the step he had been longing for, to speak the words he had carried in his heart, the truth of his feelings for Lily, the young woman who had unexpectedly turned his world into a canvas of emotions he had never imagined. And Eleanor, sensing the tension and the quiet determination in him, reached over and squeezed his hand, offering both reassurance and silent permission, the warmth of her touch grounding him as he wrestled with his own courage and fears. And Alex, feeling the calm support from his grandmother, finally found his voice, saying, "Grandma, I think I need to see her. I need to tell her everything I feel." And Eleanor smiled softly, the pride and understanding in her eyes reflecting the countless nights she had spent guiding him, listening to him, and encouraging him to embrace life fully. And she whispered gently, "Then go, Alex. Follow your heart, but promise me you'll be honest, kind, and true to yourself, because love grows from honesty, courage, and care." And he nodded, a flicker of relief and resolve in his eyes, knowing that he had been given the confidence and emotional strength he needed to face this next chapter. And as he rose from the swing, the night air brushing against his face, he felt a mix of anticipation and nervous energy, the pulse of excitement quickening in his chest, the kind of heartbeat that only comes when someone stands on the edge of possibility, ready to leap into a new beginning. And Eleanor watched him, her heart full, feeling the quiet satisfaction of seeing him embrace love with sincerity and courage, a moment that connected generations in the shared understanding of hope, longing, and the power of emotional honesty. And as Alex walked slowly toward his car, each step deliberate yet hesitant, Eleanor reflected on how far he had come, from the boy who once ran to her with scraped knees and stories of schoolyard adventures, to the young man who now carried the vulnerability and passion of first love. And she realized that these moments, these conversations, these late-night revelations under a starlit sky, were the ones that shaped the heart, that taught courage, tenderness, and the beauty of opening oneself fully to another. And as Alex started the car and drove away, the soft glow of the porch light fading behind him, Eleanor felt a quiet pride mixed with a bittersweet longing, knowing that change was a part of life, that love grows and transforms people, and that her role as witness, guide, and supporter was a gift, one that had allowed her to see not only his growth but the emergence of a love that was real, tender, and promising. And later, as she closed the door and leaned against it for a moment, the night outside Silent and peaceful, Eleanor reflected on the fragility and strength of hearts, the courage it takes to speak the truth, and the gentle magic of being present for someone you love as they take their first steps into an unknown, beautiful future. And in the quiet hours, she replayed his words, the way he had spoken of Lily, the small details that revealed his deep affection, the sincerity in his eyes, and she knew that these were the memories that would stay with her forever, shaping her understanding of love, trust, and the passage of time. And the swing, now empty, seemed to hold the echo of laughter, whispers, and unspoken emotions, a silent witness to the unfolding of a young heart learning to embrace love, while Eleanor sat in reflective silence, feeling a mix of joy, nostalgia, and quiet hope for the happiness that awaited Alex, knowing that he had taken the first step toward a life filled with emotional depth, romantic possibility, and meaningful connections. And as the moon traced its path across the sky, Eleanor felt a sense of completion, of closure to this night of revelations, and yet a promise of more to come, the beginning of a new chapter where courage, love, and honesty would guide him. And in that moment, she whispered softly to herself, a gentle acknowledgement of life's beautiful unfolding. Some moments come once in a lifetime, and tonight was one of them. And as the stars twinkled above, the quiet hum of the town wrapping around her like a protective blanket, Eleanor felt the satisfaction of witnessing the first steps of a love that was destined to grow, the quiet triumph of emotional bravery, and the tender realization that while life moves forward, these nights of heart-to-heart connection, of truth spoken and trust earned, remain etched in memory, shaping both the present and the future. And as she finally turned off the porch light and moved inside, the warmth of the home surrounding her, Eleanor carried with her the deep understanding that love, in its purest form, begins with honesty, blossoms with courage, and leaves an everlasting imprint on the hearts of those willing to embrace it, and that this night, this conversation, and the trust shared between her and Alex would remain a cherished part of their lives, a memory of tenderness, growth, and the quiet, enduring beauty of opening one's heart and allowing love to take flight, a story that would linger in their hearts, inspiring hope, joy, and the courage to embrace what life and love have to offer.